New York is at it again, trying desperately to know about every single gun, and if they can't, they'll make it impossible for manufacturers to do business in the state. Let's not forget, gun legislation in New York and other blue states is not created for the purpose of saving lives or keeping people safe. All you have to do is look at the effects of each particular gun law or piece of proposed legislation to understand that the real intent of gun legislation is for the purpose of Democrats disarming their political opposition. Now, New York State has been notorious for not only creating unconstitutional gun control laws, but defying the Supreme Court and enforcing those laws even after they've been deemed unenforceable and unconstitutional. New York State legislators simply do not care what federal law says. They believe they can bend the rules to suit their political goals, and the Constitution is irrelevant within New York State borders. Even after being defeated in court and the Supreme Court deeming much of New York State's gun laws unconstitutional, the Empire State gun grabbers are back at it again with a new list of proposed anti-gun bills. Senate and Assembly leaders in New York are pushing for the following gun control measures with the new legislative season. S 418 would limit New Yorkers to purchasing no more than one firearm during any 30-day period. A 2228 would require a background check for the purchase of a 3D printer. Now, this particular bill appears to be a result of the Ghost Gun Fear campaign that Democrats have been pushing recently. This type of legislation would have been perceived as a waste of time had the public not been previously conditioned to believe that everyone is printing so-called ghost guns at their kitchen table. Now, due to the success of the ghost gun scare tactics, New York gun grabbers now appear to feel confident in pushing such ridiculous legislation. S 2158 would require all semi-automatic pistols manufactured on or after January 1st, 2023 that are sold or delivered in New York to be capable of microstamping expended cartridge cases and be entered into a database that's managed by the Department of Criminal Justice System. Now, microstamping is the process of creating a unique code on the face of a firing pin that leaves an imprint on a primer when it's struck. Anti-gun media, lobby groups, and legislators have claimed that this type of technology would assist in tracking guns that are used in crimes. However, requiring this type of technology is just another roadblock created by the Democrats, who know that microstamping can be easily evaded by simply altering the microstamp with simple hand tools. S 1455 is a bill from Democrat Senator Brian Kavanaugh, which would give the power to certify the technological viability of personalized handguns and establish requirements to the related sale of such handguns to the Division of Criminal Justice Services. Now, personalized handguns technology would include programmed grips and triggers that would have the ability to recognize the unique print of the owner's hand and would only be able to fire when operated by that registered user. Now, this would eliminate the ability of a spouse to defend family members in times of need, making people vulnerable to violent criminals let out of jail under New York's early release or bail reform policies. Legislators understand that this type of technology is not in wide use and has faced significant development issues. Now, the goal here seems to be shutting down gun shops across the state, because if manufacturers cannot meet the technological demands, they'll simply stop selling their products to distributors who supply New York gun shops. Another idea the gun-grabbing pencil pushers in New York conjured up is to make it impossible for manufacturers to meet the needs of the retail market through a bill called S 1358. Now, this bill would require all pistols be equipped with a permanent child-proofing device. Now, child-proofing would include creating adjustable trigger resistance to create at least a 10-pound trigger pull, or a series of multiple motions in order to fire a gun. Now, ask yourself this question. Are firearm manufacturers going to jump through these hoops and spend an enormous amount of money on research and development to implement these new technologies just to meet New York State's demands? Or would it be more cost effective to simply stop distributing to New York? How would you like to have to complete a series of multiple motions to fire a gun in a defensive situation? A437 is a propaganda bill that would require any establishment that sells, displays, or delivers firearms to post signs warning consumers of the risk of death or suicide in homes where weapons are present. Now remember, gun grabbers are always trying to link suicides to firearms. And by doing so, it gives them more social support for gun legislation, even though we've learned that suicides are not decreased in the absence of guns. The Australian gun bans of the 1990s are a perfect example of this, because they had no effect on the already occurring slight downward trajectory of homicides and suicides during that time. But the average person is typically unaware of this because the media continues to push the gun suicide lie. As data analyst Leah Libresco wrote in 2017 in the Washington Post, I researched the strictly tightened gun laws in Britain and Australia and concluded that they didn't prove much about what America's policy should be. Neither nation experienced drops in mass shootings or other gun-related crime that could be attributed to their buybacks and bans. Libresco also said the gun restrictions had an ambiguous effect on other gun-related crimes or deaths. Without knowing the truth, anti-gun propaganda can easily take root in the minds of those who don't know any better. And guess what? New York State legislators bank on that to push their Constitution-violating laws. Although 21-year-old age requirements for possessing firearms have largely been ruled unconstitutional by district and appellate courts, including Louisiana, Texas, and Pennsylvania, Assembly Bill A346 has been introduced banning anyone under the age of 21 from possessing a firearm. So New York lawmakers will let you die defending your country, but they won't let you defend your family. A2060 would require any firearm created by a 3D printer to have a unique identifying number, and that number must be registered with the state police. Federal law currently requires dealers to have serial numbers on all firearms sold, but does not require private citizens to do so. This bill would circumvent that protection afforded to private gun owners. Like California, New York will stop at nothing to disarm citizens they represent, regardless of Supreme Court rulings, previous case precedent, and the Bill of Rights. Thanks for watching Bullet Points. I'm Dan Wass for Gun Owners Foundation. You can find more Second Amendment content and updates at gunowners.com.